This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Philippi. My guest is Dwight Evalt. Dwight is an artist, as you might have guessed, and he brought some paintings in to show us today, and also to talk about the Art Harvest Studio Tour coming up the first 2 weeks in October. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Lynda.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here again. It's my third year on the tour.
Okay.
And I'm glad to present some new work for the public to see. And it's an opportunity for them to come to visit my studio, and my work will also be displayed in my home, and maybe a little bit in the yard. Who knows?
Oh, really
fun!
fun.
So
because maybe some of the sculpture.
Some of the sculpture will be
okay.
outside, so.
Well, let's talk about some of the different kinds of things you do, because I know you work in several media.
Mm-hmm. So mostly this year I've been concentrating on my painting because I'm really trying to develop some of my ideas in painting. But those same ideas run through my other work as well, so including the sculpture and some of my raku pottery. I enjoy that process because it's contains within it, and it's similar to natural processes. And in my work, in my paintings, I tend to use natural processes, or use the process that I'm using, creating the artwork, as a kind of metaphor for natural processes. So, so the process of making the work is a metaphor. And so, like for instance, in the work that's right behind me, or in the work that's right behind me, for instance, there are a lot of different media, and the way that they interact is kind of like a natural process, as if you were mixing oil and water, as if you were looking at the clouds and seeing an image in the clouds, and it changes.
Right.
Okay. Or for you, it's in one kind of image, and for another person, it's a different image. It's like watching, trying to look for a pattern in the ocean waves, and thinking you see one, and then it changes. So my goal is to have the work itself work on you in a similar way to the way nature works.
And so when people come to your studio and they look, for example, at this particular painting, and they say, tell me about this painting, what's it about? What do you say?
Well, I usually start with that description, the idea of process as a metaphor for natural processes, and then I start asking them what they're seeing. And quite often I'll get different answers from different people, and if I start to tell them how I go about my process, then they start to see things in it. So for instance, I'll often start painting with a gesture drawing, like a really quick movement with a brush and with some paint and ink. And so that's the basis, is just that movement. And then I add other things and include a lot of other processes to get surprises sometimes. But they're sort of intentional surprises, because I know I'm going to be surprised ahead of time. So,
surprises for yourself.
Yes, and the idea is that I like when randomness and order come together. And when I look at nature, those are the interesting things to me, and so I try to make that happen in the paintings as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really love some of the things you do. The painting behind us, which I know that you know what it looks like, so you don't have to twist around, but with, what looks like smoke, and which is in fact...
Is in fact smoke.
Okay, so you used real fire.
Yes, so in some of these paintings, well, in all of these three, there are some areas in the painting where I've used lacquer thinner and spray paint, and first lay on some lacquer thinner and then cover it with spray paint and then light that on fire.
Oh my gosh,
and,
don't try this at home.
Well, you can try it at home, just don't do it indoors.
Okay.
And but it burns very fast because lacquer thinner is so volatile, and so is the spray paint. But what happens then is sometimes you'll get an effect that you won't expect. Also, you can get these smoke trails, for instance, in the painting behind me.
That looks great.
And
it's very cool.
And so you're really essentially drawing with fire and smoke in that. In this case, the paint was wet while I was doing that, so it also cooked into that oil paint.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at it, I mean, it's hard to see probably on television, but you almost think, is it still wet? Because there's these shiny spots, and you said that was...
That was the metallic in the spray paint, and also the way that the lacquer kind of crystallizes when it's on
glazed
fire.
over. Yeah, it's an amazing, I mean, it's an amazing painting, and it's a lot more complex than it may show up on screen. I don't know what it looks like from there, but yeah, that'll be on display, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And there'll be a whole bunch of different venues, too. There are quite a few different venues for the artwork, including Currents Gallery here, Marilyn Affolter Gallery.
Okay, oh, you're showing there, right, of course?
I'm not showing there. I'm showing some things at Currents.
Okay.
And at the the Chehalem Community Center.
Oh, the Chehalem Cultural Center.
Excuse me.
Okay, in
And,
Newburgh, right?
That's coming up pretty soon. And then there's also some work on display at the Horseradish in Carlton, Blue Goat in Amity, and I think maybe one more place, I forget.
You know, that's one of the things I think I can say that's really great about having James Nelson as the coordinator. He's really brought a lot of that out, the idea that let's get this art out into the community and let's have some representation so people can see, you know,
Right.
what the various artists do, and kind of, I think, tempt him a bit to do the tour.
You know, I think that's a good point. I talked to him today, and one of the things that he was pointing out to me was that actually now that we have all these venues right here in McMinnville, by going to two different places, you can see an example of work by everyone in the tour.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
That's really amazing.
Okay.
Now let's take a look at what you brought
Okay.
to show us.
Okay. So this is another painting. It's called Orange Spray. It's I believe 36 by 36 square,
Oh, okay.
and it's also a mixed media painting. So, in fact, the orange that you see is an orange spray. So,
Like spray paint?
from a spray enamel can.
Just like a graffiti artist. Okay.
And everything looks very fluid in this, and that's because it is, because this is made on a horizontal surface, so it's on canvas, and it contains enamel paint, some lacquer thinner and spray paint, oil paint, and India ink. And the different effects that you get when you layer those and when they interact with each other really help give it that randomness and order thing that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, so I told you that earlier. I think it looks like the cosmos. Maybe, you know, the orange part is like the volcano-y thing from underneath, and then it's coming up, and then there's the, I don't know. It looks like
Yeah,
this.
that was a good direction to go in, Lynda. That's okay.
I like it.
So, you know, when I think of it as parts of nature, you know, mixing together. So, and these are the kind of things that I see or that I look at, you know, if I'm out and about. I was on top of Saddle Mountain about a week and a half ago.
Oh.
And that was just before I made this painting.
Okay.
And we were pretty much in the clouds. So looking
it-
out.
That's an amazing painting. Really beautiful. I love it.
And so we're kind of looking out into the clouds, a little bit of blue sky, a little bit of clouds, occasional mountains. And so, you know, and as that changed, and it changed every second, then you start to see different things in it. And I try to make the artwork so that it kind of behaves in that way.
Do you sell all original work, or do you do prints as well?
No, I don't do any prints.
Okay.
No prints or postcards. I just think that it wouldn't work, for one thing, with this work, because there's too much texture. And
It's
things like
true. It would be. Yeah, it would look flat. That's really true. Here we have another.
that. Yeah, and it kind of, also sometimes I think it kind of, I don't like the way it affects the work in terms of its originality and stuff
Okay.
like that. So,
Gotcha.
but this is another one. This I've been doing these animals that are kind of strange in a way. They have this is about 30 by 40, and it's also made with enamel and a lot of different media. And this one contains also some ground mineral pigment mixed with lacquer thinner, and that's what some of the pastel-y colors,
Oh, okay.
that light blue, the pink, and the lighter greens.
The ground mineral pigment, kind of like in India when you see all those different pots of colors.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I got these from Holland.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just ground mineral pigments and mixed with lacquer thinner and poured into the canvas. So also a lot of enamel, India ink, and other techniques as well. But the animals kind of came about from making some small sculptures of animals, and I was thinking to myself, it's really strange how people react to those, and they react in a positive way, but also sometimes when you look at them, everybody sees it differently. It's a kind of anthropomorphic reaction. You
Right.
know? They put some character into it, and they start saying, you know, what a cute or funny or scary or whatever, and adding on their own emotions into the thing and start to pile those onto it. And it's interesting how you can play with the slippage, the slippage of people's perceptions.
We can thank Walt Disney, huh?
Okay. And thank the human brain.
Exactly,
really.
of course. Somebody had to come up with that, yeah.
But so the idea. Oh, that's this one. So,
Okay. Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's completely different.
Yeah, different kind of view. But that's okay. But it's interesting to me that the way that our perceptions kind of slip and slide as we look at things. Everybody has a different one. It's hard to fix, fix perception, because even though we see with our eyes, most of what we are perceiving or really seeing, we're seeing with our brains. So that's an interesting thing to me.
Well, it's true. When you see the picture and half the face is missing and you fill in the face.
Right.
Or one of those things where it says, if you can read this, it just goes to show you how marvelous the brain is, because it's completely a scramble.
Right.
And you'd think there's no way you
no
could
way
read
that
it, and all of a sudden you just completely get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll use a technique that'll kind of force that. So in the example of the squirrel behind you, that's all done with like a 3-inch.
Oh, there he
knife.
is.
That's all done with a that's all done with a 3-inch knife.
I love it. Oh, that's a great squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for instance, when you're that close to it, it doesn't necessarily come across as a squirrel, but when you look at it from a distance,
Yeah,
it pulls together.
It really does.
And
So is that what you do when you're working? Is you're up close and then you step back
always, yeah.
and keep moving
enough
around,
room.
shifting a bit? Okay.
And then by limiting the number of tools, so for instance, like in this case, just a 3-inch palette knife as a limiting factor, then that kind of puts a limit on how far you're going to take, detail or anything like that, and it kind of adds another element of order into it in a way. So it's kind of ordered by the size of the tool that you're using. And
so what determines that for you? Just like whimsy when you get up that morning, or how does it work?
It's not. Well, I wouldn't say whimsy. There's a method to the madness. You might
Okay.
say. Because I really am intentionally trying to do these things. I want to, like I was talking about that slippage of perception. That's kind of where I want to be. The idea that you could be taking it one way and taking it another way.
So before you start the squirrel, you say, I'm going to do a squirrel and I'm going to deliberately choose to use only just this one thing. And then you're 9/10 of the way through and you say, man, I really want to pick up that little teeny tiny brush. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Just as a challenge to yourself.
Yeah, not so much as a challenge, just as a way of kind of making it honest, making it real, kind of in that sense. So like if I decided to do it, I was going to go ahead and do it.
I like that. Great.
So, and that happens in a lot of things. So where, I may start a picture, with a plan of what to use, and just use those things really, and then sometimes that'll work, and if it doesn't, then I change. Of course. So like sometimes I'll work with a painting and work with it for a while, put it away, come back to it later, or totally repaint it on another day, because it just didn't quite go where I wanted it to go. So.
Well, Dwight, I really want to thank you. We're out of time, and I wish you a lot of success on the tour, and can't wait to see more of your work. So thanks so much for coming.
Come on by on the tour; it'll be great.
Thank you.
Okay.